Nico Cantor and Chris Whittingham, they went live on YouTube immediately after news broke of Xabi Alonso being sacked by Real Madrid. So let's take a look at some of the reactions that you all had as we were live. First one says, Lahoud, not a Madrid fan, but Xavi is a good coach. Madrid itself as a club and all the players failed him. Too many egos, players who can't stay healthy, not being respected in your job, and this applies in any job in the world. There will never be progress and success. Players are the issue, not the coach. Well, Xabi Alonso put a statement on his Instagram this morning saying this professional chapter is coming to an end, and it didn't turn out the way we would have liked. Coaching Real Madrid has been an honor and a responsibility. I thank the club, the players, and above all, the fans and Madridismo for their trust and support. I leave with respect, gratitude, and the pride of having done my best. Well, Jeff, now that we've had some time to digest all of this information and kind of toss up all the potential ideas of why now and why he could have been sacked, what's the biggest reason that you've come to? What's your conclusion for why Xabi Alonso got sacked now?
I'm not sure there wasn't a typo in that statement, Claudia. I think it should have said, I'd like to thank some of the players. Why now? Good question. Look, I feel like ever since we've been talking about Xabi in the role, it's a case of when, not if, he's going to get sacked. Even a decent win was always going to be a stay of execution. It never, ever felt permanent, did it, at any point? So why now? Well, it can't just have been on the back of losing to Barcelona, which I know is a huge deal for them, but it was a narrow loss, and they could have drawn it quite easily in the last moments of the game as well. So this has been in the offing for some time. So probably the one question I have about, and I'm looking forward to hearing what all you guys think, as well as talking to Guillem Balagué later on, is the specifics of the timing. And I also wonder about the way he played against Barcelona, because it was so counter-attack based. It was so cover-up. I just wonder whether or not, it's not just the loss, was the final straw seeing Barcelona enjoy 75% possession? Now, you could argue it nearly brought about a terrific result, but I just wonder whether or not they could stomach that, seeing it being pretty much pulverised on the pitch, whether or not that was a contributory factor. But why exactly now? Hard to tell.
Yeah, personally, I'm shocked at the timing of it, especially given that the performance. Okay, I was a bit underwhelmed in terms of the performance from Real Madrid, but this has been a long time coming for Xabi Alonso, and we talk about performances. They haven't been convincing, and I know we can go in terms of their run, in terms of some of the games that they've had, but I've covered some of the games, and I go back to matches against Sevilla, where it was very flattering. And I think they've had some flattering performances, but this boils down to a couple things. For me, the reason why I'm surprised is that after the match against Atleti, Xabi Alonso felt like he was starting to turn a corner a bit because he came out and publicly defended Vinny, something he hadn't done before, between the spat between Vinny and Cholo. But ultimately, Nico, this is a matter of player power overriding coaching power, no? And the players won out. Their voice spoke loudest.
Yeah, I think there was a dynamic at play that at Real Madrid isn't sustainable. And Florentino took this moment to find an out, almost impulsively, but premeditated in the sense that it was either now or maybe in a Champions League elimination, because like you guys say, there needed to be a reason because the writing was on the wall. And I think just straight up losing the Super Cup was Florentino's reason. And that's why I say impulsively, because no one in Spain had an idea of it. There were several outlets that ran with the headline that Xabi Alonso's job was safe. And then the very next day he got fired. I mean, if that's not telling, it definitely sounds like an inner working thing. And that's why so many people in Spain are surprised, and I think all of us are surprised by the timing, but we're not surprised by the firing.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a dynamic change. There needs to be a alpha change? Because it does feel like at Real Madrid, the group that is in charge of the dressing room is the players.
Do you remember we spoke to Guillem, I think it was on the Friday, and we asked him, is there or it might have been Phil, if Real Madrid get a real kicking in this game, could this be the end for him? Yeah, but it would have to be a heavy defeat. That was how it was set on the Friday, and it was far from an absolute hiding.
My question is, where would we be today if Álvaro Carreras hits that equalizer at the end of the game?
Yeah.
Or Asensio, and Real Madrid wins on penalty kicks.
What do you think about what I say about the way they played?
But isn't that crazy? I mean, but the way they played, listen, and then there's this whole guard of honor moment, right, that I think is very symbolic in who has the power. I don't know if this is the last straw. I think this is the cherry on top to Xabi Alonso's short tenure at Real Madrid. And then
This is the moment. This is the moment where his fate was cast.
this is a man that knows he's going to whack somebody.
Do you think that's slightly less than warm, that embrace?
There's the Arctic Pole, and then there's that.
But the only thing is, I'm disappointed with the camera work there. You can't see the dagger in his hand as it goes around the back.
I think we can wonder if Real Madrid had at least tied it, or if they had won it. I think we can say maybe his job would be safe, but it seems...
But for now,
and that's the thing, is that it felt like it would have just been a Band-Aid, so how long would he even
Stay of execution. It felt like, Claudia, Xabi Alonso's time, we discussed it every single week, and we weren't alone. It was, how long is this going to last? He's got till next weekend. You know, he might buy a fortnight. But I think it was Nico who called it back in October, maybe November. He said, wait till the Super Cup. Wait till the Super Cup.
it's incredible how much a meaningless trophy carries so much weight, right?
I agree.
Well, I never thought this was meaningless because of
It is.
the circumstances.
Because of Barcelona.
Well, okay, hold up.
Yeah.
The trophy is what I'm saying. Who cares about a Super Cup, bro?
I agree.
These teams, I think, care about the
They
Super
don't
Cup.
care about the Super Cup. They care about the Champions League and La Liga. This is a tournament that just happens to be in the middle of the season.
A manager just lost his job.
I know. That's what I'm saying. The trophy itself, in the
in terms of the priorities of
not even in the priorities, in the grand annals of Real Madrid and Barcelona, nobody cares about a Super Cup. It's almost like these players don't even write it on their CV when it's like you never talk about Pedri, 3-time Spanish Super Cup winner. Nobody cares about that. But it does carry, now because it's the middle of the season, it carries this weight. You can win so little and lose so much in one game. And that's why the Spanish Super Cup has now become this revolutionary force in the middle of the season that can sack your manager. And managers have been sacked before in a Super Cup mid-season in the short period of time that we've had this mid-season Super Cup in Saudi Arabia. So it feels like it's still too early to sack Xabi Alonso. I think the general consensus from neutrals or fans around the world are saying, why didn't this guy get a little bit more time?
Real Madrid. We know that they dance to a different beat to everybody else. And I'm also intrigued as well, this whole talk of player power and the dynamic. The way he was playing there against Barcelona, and he has done it elsewhere as well, it's more like a Mourinho type of football.
But I think
isn't it ironic?
I think it's less to do with the tactics and more to do with what you guys talk about, the player power. This Real Madrid group right now is unmanageable, in my opinion, because of the player power, because you just had a manager who was the best available option for what the club wanted, the profile, the aura. We talked about when he was hired, right? Xabi Alonso was made for Real Madrid, and Real Madrid was made for Xabi Alonso. It was the next step in his career.
But maybe
these players right now, you ask yourself this question, Jeff. Of the managers available right now, given the group that Florentino Pérez has put together, we're at Real Madrid. It's not players that fit a manager's philosophy. It's a manager that fits the players, right?
look,
Perez puts the players out there, and the manager comes in. So, of the people who are available, Geoff,
I agree with you.
Answer my question. Of the people who are available,
Mikey, I agree
who
with
can
you
even step in and put a Band-Aid over this massive gash of a wound right now?
But that's like saying who would take the Man United job. Trust me, people will want this job. I mean, look, the Mbappe thing.
But who could go?
Hang on. I'll come to that.
Yeah.
Mbappe, I think that's disgusting. You've got your manager saying, right, guys, guard of honour, and the player going, nah, we ain't doing that. Come on, lads, let's go. That is outrageous. But I just wonder, and I don't disagree with you, he was the best manager available, etc., etc. Did he manage this particular club, which is unique? Did he manage it in the right way? It was very technical, very tactical, and not arm around the shoulder like Carlo.
There's the irony.
Criticism of Carlo.
Right? There's the irony. We kind of like went 360 in 6 months here because, listen, the last year of Carlo, before they both decided to go down their own paths, the club felt like it needed to evolve past the arm around the shoulder. The players were the priority for Carlo, making them happy, making them feel happy, have this free-flowing football. But because the team didn't play well, because they didn't have that midfielder that could set the tempo, it felt disjointed, unbalanced, and it almost was like the club was begging for a tactical evolution. We need to be on par with the best teams in the world tactically. That's why they went to go get a Xabi Alonso. I don't know if Xabi Alonso was a player's manager rather than a tactical manager, because what I saw at Bayer Leverkusen was very tactically complex. So then Real Madrid goes out and gets that, understanding that that's what it is, and the players are not liking it. Club World Cup wasn't great. The first couple of games, not convincing. You lose to Atletico Madrid pretty badly. You win El Clásico, but then after that, you lose to Celta Vigo, and then it's like, and then to Manchester City in the Bernabeu. And suddenly it's like, maybe you should revert back to a little bit. So much so, you're sitting behind the ball, parking the bus against Barcelona. Like, that's so un-Xabi Alonso. So we're back where we started. What do we do now?
Xabi Alonso is no longer Real Madrid manager, but that is nowhere near the shortest stint for manager at the club. The shortest was Jose Antonio Camacho, 6 matches in 2004. Right after him, Julian Lopetegui, just 14 matches for him back in 2018. Then you see the list of the rest of the managers who had a shorter time than Xabi Alonso with Real Madrid. So to talk more about this, let's bring in our CBS Sports La Liga correspondent, Guillem Balagué. Guillem, I said we have lots of questions, so everybody buckle up, because if we could, I'd like you here for the next 2 hours for the entire show so we can dive into all of this, starting off with that list of the shortest stints for manager at Real Madrid. Xabi Alonso is there right at the bottom, but he is there. How did all of this go wrong? What felt like so quickly for him?
Okay, I'm going to turn it around because I've been listening to you, and I think I have to say this. You're talking about the most successful club of the 20th century and the 21st century. So since Football Association started, this is the most successful club. And I think we tend to forget that. And they are successful because of things like this, because of that graphic. Because when it doesn't work, out. And then let's start over. And let's do it in a way that perhaps it will work. And generally, by the way, the change tends to be for the better. So there's been occasions where some of those managers, for instance, Rafa Benitez gets the sack and Zinedine Zidane ends up winning the Champions League or stuff like that. That has been the history of Real Madrid. So I understand that we all like Xabi Alonso. I understand that it feels like he hasn't been given long enough. But it's been the chronicle of an announced death since October, really, since the defeat against Atletico Madrid. Number one. Number two, I think Vinicius and his reaction basically meant that there was no turn back. And you've shown the cold embrace of Florentino and Xabi Alonso. That was a relationship that was going nowhere. It was a suggestion by people at the club to Florentino, should we go this way? As Nico was saying earlier, should we just become a modern team and have layers, tactical layers and so on? Well, it hasn't worked. Then gone, like Lopetegui went, like Rafa Benitez went. In the case of Camacho, who of course is at the top of that list, I don't think nobody can beat that. That he was in. The way he explains it is like, right, I've seen the team, I've seen how they work, I'm not going to make them champions. Bye. So apart from him, everybody else got the sack. And it is because the man, as Arbeloa said in the press conference just a few minutes ago, of Real Madrid is win, win, win. Never mind how, it's all about winning.
Yeah, without a doubt, Guillem, the results are the first and foremost most important thing at Real Madrid, right? And they lost to Barcelona in the Spanish Super Cup. Destiny is particular, right? I wonder where we'd be at today if Carreras scores that goal at the end of the game, equalizes, and Madrid wins on penalty kicks. Like, we were splitting hairs in the final that Barcelona was supposed to destroy Real Madrid. Where would we be at today? And if this really was this chronicle of an expected death, like you say, when would have been the last straw? Champions League, end of the season?
You're trying to make the life of Florentino Pérez harder. He'd taken a decision months ago. And it seemed like we were prepared and preparing for it to happen in December. But then they go on a run of wins, and then it's like, well, right, it's not the right moment. A defeat against Barcelona, whatever way, it is always hard. But if it is somebody that you trust and you think they're building something, then you let him go for a little bit longer. But in this case, it was the perfect excuse. But I can tell you, Xabi Alonso did not expect that at all. And it's not just by hearing his words after the final, in which he kept talking about process and, it's a defeat that we'll learn from and all of that. It's just that he thought that Florentino had taken a step aside because there hadn't been enough inputs from the top that this was going to happen there and then. But conversations on the plane on the way to Madrid started having a tone that had to do with his biggest ally, José Ángel Sánchez, the number 2 at Real Madrid, and the one who suggested him. He was warned, Xabi Alonso was warned, that there was going to be an extraordinary meeting 4:30 p.m. yesterday, and there was only one thing on the table, which was his future. Okay, that's it, end of. He realized that. I saw the pictures of Mbappé taking the team away from the pitch, and Xabi Alonso doubting what to do and so on. And I felt that Xabi perhaps at that point thought that's it. But no, it was a big surprise to Xabi Alonso that this happened, as much as he has been also to him a relief.
Guillem, that moment with Kylian Mbappé and the guard of honor that never happened, seemed to be one of many issues in this whole process. The biggest thing being the relationship with the players. How much of that contributed to the ultimate decision to get rid and say, okay, we're going to sack him?
A lot. And when Real Madrid talked to Xabi Alonso and his agent about why he's been sacked, because forget about whatever wording they use, this is a sacking of Real Madrid of a manager. The explanations were a bit like, the football is not great. Against Barcelona, we were inferior. Against Atletico Madrid, we were inferior. We lost against Atletico Madrid in the league badly. The physical team, the physical condition is not great from the team. So Real Madrid have been pushing Pintus, former manager, and Zinedine Zidane, physical coach with Zinedine Zidane. And Xavi said, no, this is it. No, this is a red line. We don't want Pintus. But Pintus has been more and more present. And now, of course, Arbeloa in the press conference is talking about Pintus as a crucial part of what's going to happen next. The club wanted Pintus to have a bigger influence. Xavi didn't. So there's all these other matters. But at the end, it's just that there was a manager that did not have a harmony or harmonic group in there. You only need to look at the reaction of the players in social media. There's one or two that haven't even said goodbye.
Guillem, without naming a candidate, although you're more than welcome to if you have inside information, given everything that's just been said, and also I know you were listening when Nico said, OK, Ancelotti went because he was a player's manager and he looked after the players, said, look after them, go and play well. And they said, OK, we want a more technical manager. So what has the next candidate got to have to succeed at this job? And what will Florentino Pérez expect other than results? Is he going to say, OK, your job is come in, just manage the players, and if you do that, it will all be fine, or be technical, or he just doesn't care as long as the results are good?
Real Madrid never get to the end of that question, who should be or what should be the profile, who should be the next manager, what kind of profile, in a straight line. I'll give you an example. When Rafa Benitez was in charge, Florentino Pérez went for a meal with Cristiano Ronaldo and Sergio Ramos, and both of them said, you have to get rid of him. By the way, Zidane is doing really well with Castilla, and he will be the kind of manager that we will actually get along with. And Florentino Pérez said, but he's rubbish. He's not a great coach. That's the kind of report that he had about Zinedine Zidane. So even Florentino Pérez didn't think that Zidane was the man to take charge. But it's quite clear that they need somebody with enough tactical acumen, but who can manage the players at the moment. The thing is, though, if you want to reproduce what has happened in the past in terms of what kind of group, not only what kind of manager, and Ancelotti, as Zidane, that's what they're after. But how can you actually reproduce the group that had Kroos and Modric and Casemiro, and before that Benzema and Cristiano, big personalities, with a group that don't have that? One of the captains, Valverde, more worried about his position than the group. Bellingham has been quiet as well in the last few hours, and that's surprising because he felt that when they played Almaty, basically he was pointed out as the reason why they lost so badly against Atletico Madrid on his return from injury. I don't think he's forgiven that and forgotten. So there is not enough players there. They all think the same way, and they can get this group and come on, let's go and win things. But they think they can. And there is a difference between thinking you can and actually being the group that will win as they won in the past. So the quality of the group has diminished. Meanwhile, you want to, Ancelotti or Zidane, but you still got those ingredients, not enough, perhaps not good enough to even win the league. So it's an interesting situation that will require new players, bigger players, to come in and to form a team that has got the shape and the personality of those in the past that won so much.
Guillem, talk to me about the quality of Álvaro Arbeloa. He just did his first press conference as soon as we went live, so I'm curious to know what he said in his first press conference, and if this is a guy that you think Real Madrid is going to stick with in the long term, or is this just temporary, him now being Real Madrid manager?
The plan is that it is temporary, but as I told you in the case of Zinedine Zidane, it was a big surprise to everyone, but he hasn't got the aura or the respect from the players that Zinedine Zidane had. And we've also added that he hasn't got the quality in the group that Zinedine Zidane had. But Arbeloa is a coach. He's very close to the modern Real Madrid in terms of philosophy of the club, the essence. He doesn't marry one single idea. His teams can defend deep and counter-attack and pressure high as well. So he's got a lot of layers as a coach, obviously not enough experience. He's been linked to Mourinho because he used to be in the famous Chiringuito, the television show, and he sounded like Mourinho on that show, shouting at people and joking, and he was a big, how can I put it, personality that didn't seem to be a coach behind it, but he is a coach now. He says if he tried to imitate today, or be close to Mourinho, he'll fail. He'll be his own man. But he's talking about the academy, and of course he knows them well, and he counts on them. He says that everybody starts from scratch in the first team. Yeah, right. But he doesn't want to get involved in referees or Vinicius or this and that. So it wasn't one press conference with big headlines, but he has been given the chance until the end of the season. And then we will see. He may be the manager that the team needs. I don't know.
Guillem, great stuff as always. Your thoughts, your understanding of the philosophy, of the politics, of the group, of the players, of the media, everything Real Madrid. So, know your colours to the mast now. Who do you think should get the job, and who is getting the job? And is Jürgen Klopp a runner?
Jürgen Klopp is somebody that, for some reason, Florentino Pérez has fantasized about for a long time. He thinks that he's got a big personality. He loves the way that Borussia Dortmund played, and Liverpool as well. He's retired. He doesn't have any. He's said it himself today. He's got no intention of come back in club management. But that profile of manager has nothing to do with Zidane or Ancelotti. So I'm not sure Florentino himself knows what's coming next. And in terms of who he can be, I can tell you 2 or 3 names that, of course, my eyes would actually, well, the likes of Marcelino, for instance, or Unai Emery, for instance. But it won't happen because they're not looking for that profile of manager. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with Arbeloa and really take it from there.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.